What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another video, and today we've got the best armor inside of Helldivers 2, the one specifically with the armor passive. Now, the number one thing we need to talk about straight out the gate is right now, armor rating is not doing anything for us. It's not working as intended, and I mean to make that clear before we go into this, as I'm not sure everybody knows about this just yet. I know I didn't know about it at the very beginning when I was playing the game. And it was a bit frustrating as I really love the heavy armor, but right now the heavy armor is the biggest drawback you can use right now, considering sure the armor passive may work, but the only thing that's truly working about the armor beyond that is the speed and stamina regen, and you can clearly see how this is going to be negatively affecting you if you were wearing the heavy armor. So for right now, medium armor is going to do just fine, but light armor is going to be the best, and sadly enough, the only light armor with the additional armor passes besides Scout are going to be within that superstore. So if you bought some of those up, kudos, you've got a little bit more movement than other people and just about the same armor with a couple of those armor passives that may be really beneficial for you. But we're going to get into what are some of the best armor passives for you to wear going forward. Now, when it comes to the armor passives, we have about 6 of them right now, so we're just going to rank them from 6 to number 1. And starting off at the very bottom, I'm going to have to just throw it in there. It's going to be the servo assisted. Now, this one is going to increase our throwing range by 30% and provides 50% limb health. Now, the throwing range can be beneficial if you're throwing out some of those airstrikes. If you're pretty deep behind cover and you've got some enemies advancing and you want to be able to get that advantage on them or advantage on some of those patrols, this could be pretty beneficial for you, but overall it isn't going to be the most beneficial out of all of the armor passives that we have available to us. Coming up at the number 5 slot, we've got Engineering Kit, which is going to further reduce our recoil while crouching or prone by 30% and increase our initial inventory and holding capacity of grenades by +2, which is going to give us about 6 grenades, which isn't bad. Originally, when I first started the game, this was one of the early armors that I unlocked, and I wasn't opposed to this one. Having 2 additional grenades was quite nice, and after I did pull it off, it was something I definitely felt going forward. There was a lot of moments where I really enjoyed just having 2 additional grenades, but at the same time, 4 is plenty, and you've got other stratagems that you unlock later that become a little bit more beneficial, but it is nice to have that additional 30% reduction to recoil when it comes to crouching or prone, as it almost makes you into a laser turret, and with some weapons specifically. Coming up at number 4, we've got Fortified, which is one that is really beneficial when facing off with the automatons, but sadly enough, the only one that you're going to get for free out of the war bonds is going to be on the heavy armor. You can find this in the superstore from time to time as it rotates through. On some of the medium armor, I have seen it. I almost picked it up myself, but for the time being, I've been saving all my super credits for something else later down the road. I've just been collecting as many as I can and just working what's freely available for right now. But with this, we do further reduce our recoil, giving us a little bit of that aim bodiness or that laser turret effect when it comes to crouching with our weapons, and it provides us with 50% resistance to explosive damage, which is really nice. And I did wear this armor for a good bit, and it was definitely noticeable after I changed over to medium armor. But trust me when I say it is more worthwhile to have the stamina regen and the speed over having that 50% resistance right now, is 9 times out of 10, no matter how resistant you are to explosives, you know, if you can't outrun them, there's going to be more than enough of them to blow you to bits. Coming up at number 3 with the armor passive Scout, which is quite interesting, and it is one that is almost very true to its name, considering markers placed on the map will generate radar scans every 2 seconds, so effectively you'll be able to place down a marker wherever you want on the little mini map in the bottom right corner, and you'll be able to get a little bit of a radar ping every 2 seconds in that location. So this is something that you could utilize to just drop one of those pings in at a location that you're moving to, or locations as you're moving along, in order to get a read as to where some of those enemies might be and which way to direct your team and direct yourself to move to avoid some of those conflicts in between moving from objective to objective. And on top of that, it reduces the range at which enemies can detect the wearer by 30%. Arguably, this is a really strong solo armor passive. This could be something that really gives you a more breezy time at moving from objective to objective with minimal effort and minimal conflict as much as possible. It is one that I would utilize for the speed and the capability of evading a lot of those enemies as you're moving from objective to objective, when you're really trying to conserve on ammo or just trying to conserve on time overall and try to be speedy and get through it with the least effort as possible. Coming up at the number 2 slot is my personal favorite. It's the one that I use all the time. It's the Democracy Protects. It has a 50% chance not to die when taking lethal damage. I'm very much a gambling man, and I have seen this work way too many times, and it is very beneficial for me. It is quite fun. I enjoy the moments when I don't end up actually getting taken down. But then there are other instances where I'll get stuck under a charger and I think I'm safe, and well, it's dragging me for quite a while, and then next thing you know, it still ends up crushing me. It can prolong the inevitable fate in certain times, give you some false hope, or give you some reason to get very excited, and then sometimes just bring you straight down. But that's the art of gambling, it's big wins and big losses. But it also prevents all damage from bleeding if chest hemorrhages. So in those moments when you possibly had that chest icon down at the bottom where you are bleeding, you can inevitably die from this. So it is preventing the capability of bleeding to death with this armor passive. But coming up at the number 1 slot is going to be Medkit, which increases our initial inventory and holding capacity of stems by 2 and increases our stems effect duration by 2 seconds, which if you didn't understand what stems were doing for you besides just maxing your health out effectively for about 2 seconds, and now with this it'll be about 4 seconds after you've injected a stem, you're pretty much invulnerable, and it completely refills your stamina and makes it infinite stamina up until the point that the effects wear off from that stem. And then you'll, on top of that, have an additional 2 of those injectors available for use. This is almost invaluable to a lot of players. This is something that can really create a strong amount of survivability, arguably more than the 50% chance not to die. There are so many different times where this can be utilized when it comes to facing off with the automatons or the bugs. In moments when you're possibly overrun by the bugs, you can just hit that stem, and even no matter how many times they're just dogpiling on you, unless it's probably like a Bile Titan or something along those lines, generally you'll be able to completely re-heal that. I've noticed multiple instances where after I've hit a stem for those 2 seconds right after, you may have noticed it yourself, where it looks like your health just gets instantly depleted and then goes straight right back. It's just rubber banding all the way back to full, and having 4 seconds of that, especially while moving across some of those open fields when it comes to facing off with large amounts of automatons with those laser cannons that they have that just aimbot straight on you. In moments like that, or even just the rockets pelting you and just kind of throwing you around that field, if you threw in one of those stems just before moving from that cover, trying to get to the next piece of cover that may be way out there, and it's just no cover in between, and you're going to get hit, this can be something that gives you the capability of not wasting one of those reinforcement tokens and giving you the capability of pushing all the way across and either getting that flank or just getting away and getting onto that next objective. It really is the top tier when it comes to the armor passives, and I'm hoping that they add in more than a few of these and give these to a multitude of the different armor classes, and hopefully soon they will be fixing these armor ratings, so that way I could possibly have something like this with my heavy armor, because I would love to have that. But overall, this is the number 1 in my opinion, and if you can utilize the stems right and in the right situations, it truly is an overpowered armor passive effect. And one honorable mention is the TR62 Knight helmet is the best helmet inside of the game. There's just no questions asked on that one. It's irrefutable. But that's going to be the best armor passives inside of the game, or the best armor within the game. Hopefully you've learned something from this. Hopefully it's helped you out, especially when it comes to understanding the armor rating is not working right now. That's probably the number 1 issues with the armor right now. If we had armor rating working properly, maybe some of these missions might be a little bit smoother than they are right now. A little bit smoother than they've been since the launch, and especially if you have been using that heavy armor, I'm sorry. Trust me, I was right there with you. I was wearing it for a good bit because my favorite armor is definitely the FS05 Marksman, but I also like the TR62 Knight. They just look better than the other armor in my opinion. This looks like some casual wear. This looks like, I'm just a casual sniper, but I'm looking for something that's like I'm knee deep in the front lines, and I'm ready to just charge in with the automatons and the bugs and just eating everything that's thrown at me, and then being able to climb out of the pile of corpses that are surrounding me and then Hail King on top of it. But if you've enjoyed this and if you'd like to see more of this content in the future, hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like to see some of this content live, hit that link down in the description. Follow me over to Twitch. We're going to be streaming daily. And on that note, have a good one.